The night sky was torn apart by a streak of fire. Beyond the silent fields outside Wall Maria, something roared as it ripped through the heavens, leaving sparks in its wake. Farmers who had not yet gone to bed swore they heard the earth shatter, as though a titan had stomped down from the clouds. When the dust finally settled, no one dared leave the safety of their cottages. Only the Survey Corps, restless even in their exhaustion, ventured into the darkness to investigate. What they found was not a titan. It was a pod, metallic, scarred from heat, alien in every possible way. None of them had ever seen technology like it. The circular hatch hissed as it opened, releasing steam. From inside, a small boy emerged, his hair wild and black, his eyes burning with a strange fire. He looked barely more than a toddler, yet he stood on his feet as if the ground itself acknowledged him. Captain Hannes, who had come with the investigation party, stared at the boy. "Is this a child out here?" The child tilted his head, unafraid. He raised his tiny fists in a playful stance, as though testing the soldiers, and then, before anyone could process, he leapt several meters into the air, landing softly on the grass. The soldiers gasped, their hands tightening around their blades. "Not human," one whispered. "He can't be." But the boy laughed. It was not the laugh of a monster. It was the laugh of a child who had no fear. Hannes crouched, lowering his blade. He saw something in the boy's eyes that silenced his doubts, not malice, but a hunger for life, for discovery. He extended his hand. "Come with us, little one. You don't belong out here." The boy tilted his head again, then placed his small hand in Hannes's, and just like that, humanity's greatest weapon walked into the walls. The years passed, and the child grew. He was given the name Goku, for no one could guess his true origins. He ate more than any 5 boys combined, and his strength was unnatural. At 10 years old, he could lift carts that took 3 horses to pull. When other children fell sick in winter, Goku only grew healthier, bounding through the snow as if it were a game. Whispers followed him everywhere. Some said he was a gift from the gods, sent to free humanity from titans. Others muttered that he was cursed, a demon in human skin. Yet Goku seemed untouched by their suspicion. He laughed easily, trained relentlessly, and met the world with wide-eyed wonder. One winter, during a routine trip into a neighboring district, he met a girl. She was quiet, dark-haired, her eyes sharper than steel. The villagers whispered that her family had been taken by bandits, and that she alone had survived. Goku found her sitting outside a burnt home, wrapped in silence as deep as the snow around her. He sat beside her without asking. "Hi, I'm Goku." The girl did not answer. "You're strong, right?" he asked, as if it were obvious. "You look strong, stronger than me." Maybe. That made her glance at him, just briefly. He grinned. "Good, then we can fight together someday." "I don't like fighting alone." For the first time, Mikasa Ackerman's lips parted in something close to a smile. It was faint, almost invisible, but it was there. As years continued, Goku's legend grew inside the walls. His training was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. The scouts tried to teach him ODM gear, but he broke the system within minutes, flying through the air on his own power. He called it ki, an energy he said came from within. No one understood, but none could deny it. Where soldiers needed hooks and gas, Goku simply leapt and soared, his fists striking with enough force to shatter Titan bone. He was reckless, yes, charging into battles with laughter instead of fear, but his recklessness saved lives. Entire squads returned alive because Goku had been there, darting between titans like a storm of fists. Veterans whispered that for the first time in history, humanity might have a chance, and through it all, Mikasa remained by his side. She had joined the scouts as well, not out of reckless hope, but out of a need to fight, to protect. Unlike Goku, she carried her pain like a blade always drawn. Yet, in his presence, that weight seemed lighter. One evening, after a bloody skirmish outside the walls, Goku sat on the grass, his uniform ripped, his hands still trembling from the fight. Mikasa stood nearby, silent as always. "You fight different," Goku said suddenly. "You fight like it's not just about winning, like there's something heavier on your shoulders." Mikasa didn't answer. Goku leaned back, smiling despite his bruises. "I like that, makes me want to fight harder too." Her gaze softened, just slightly. He always found ways to say things no one else could, but not all trusted him. The military police called him dangerous. Politicians whispered of keeping him locked away, of using him as a weapon only when they saw fit. Even among soldiers, some feared him more than titans. "Too much power in one man is dangerous," Commander Nile once muttered during a meeting. "Today he fights for us. Tomorrow? Who can say?" But Erwin Smith, commander of the scouts, shook his head. "I've seen his eyes. He fights not for power, but for people. If we chain him, we lose the very reason he fights at all." And so, Goku remained free, not because he demanded it, but because those who fought beside him trusted what they saw, his laugh, his kindness, his simple joy in protecting others. One night, the sky burned again. This time, it was no pod from the stars, but the flames of Shiganshina under siege. The colossal titan had breached the wall, and chaos devoured the district. Families screamed, titans swarmed, and soldiers broke under the weight of despair. In the middle of it all, Goku stood. His fists were clenched, his aura glowing faintly in the smoke. Mikasa was beside him, blades drawn, eyes unyielding. "This is it," he whispered. "The fight I've been waiting for." Mikasa glanced at him, her scarf trailing in the wind. "Then don't die," he grinned, teeth flashing through soot. "Not planning to." And together, they leapt into the fire. The weeks following Walmaria's fall were remembered in whispers, whole districts devoured, families broken, the air itself stained with the stench of death. To the survivors herded behind wall rows, the world had narrowed to hunger, grief, and fear, and in the midst of it all was the boy no one could quite explain. Goku had fought alongside the fleeing garrison that night, driving his fists into titans that should have crushed him. Those who saw him could not decide if he was divine or monstrous. Rumors spread faster than food rations. A child with black hair, who leapt higher than ODM gear could carry, whose hands could shatter a titan's skull. The military could not ignore him. When dawn rose on the refugee camps, Commander Erwin Smith himself visited the makeshift barracks, where the boys sat among exhausted soldiers. Goku's knees were drawn up, his arms streaked with titan blood. He looked more curious than afraid, as though the devastation was only another kind of puzzle. "Son Goku," Erwin said, testing the strange name he had heard whispered. "You fought like no soldier I've ever seen. Where did you learn it?" Goku tilted his head, eyes bright but guileless. "I didn't learn. I just know how. My body tells me what to do." Levi stood behind Erwin, arms crossed, studying the boy with sharp disapproval. "Bodies don't just know how to punch holes through titans," he said flatly. "What are you really?" Goku scratched his cheek, unbothered. "I'm me. I don't know what else I'm supposed to be." It should have been nonsense. Yet Erwin saw the soldiers nearby, men who had watched their comrades die that night, looked toward the boy with something dangerously close to hope. Mikasa was among them. Her scarf was still wound-tied against her pale skin, her eyes fixed on the boy she had fought beside in the chaos. She remembered how he had thrown himself between her and a titan's reaching hand, his fist breaking bone as though it were wood. That image burned behind her eyes even now. When Erwin dismissed the gathering, ordering Levi to keep the boy under watch, Mikasa lingered. Goku noticed her silence, and smiled as though they were old friends. "You fight really good," he said, "faster than anyone I've seen." Her throat tightened. Praise had always slid off her like water, but from him it felt strange, like warmth seeping into stone. She nodded, voice quiet. "And you're something else entirely." From that day, Goku was placed under military observation. He ate with the recruits, trained alongside them, but never needed the gear they struggled with. Where others swung with steel cables and gas, he leapt, soaring over rooftops, dropping on practice dummies with fists that left craters. The instructors could not decide if it was awe or terror they felt. Some recruits whispered admiration, others called him a freak, the reason Walmaria had fallen in the first place. "Maybe he's one of them." One boy spat when Goku wasn't listening. "A titan in human skin." Goku heard though. He didn't frown or argue. He only tilted his head, as though considering. That night, when Mikasa found him alone near the barracks fire, his usual cheer was dulled. "Do you think they're right?" he asked. "That I don't belong here?" She stared at him, at the innocence in his dark eyes. In truth, she didn't know what he was, but she remembered his hand pulling her from the rubble, his body standing between hers and death. "You saved people," she said firmly. "That's what matters, not where you came from." The firelight painted her face in shifting orange. Goku looked at her a moment longer than he meant to, then grinned again. "Then I'll just keep saving people. That's enough for me." But it was not enough for the brass. Weeks later, Erwin brought Goku before the assembly of higher officers. Maps lay across tables, red marks denoting lost territory. Supplies dwindled, refugees strained the walls. Humanity needed a weapon, and Goku was that weapon. Yet fear gnawed at every officer's eyes. "If we unleash him, can we control him?" Nile Doc demanded. "What if he turns on us?" Erwin's calm never wavered. "What if he is the only chance we have left?" The decision was made not by reason, but by desperation. Goku would join the next expedition beyond the walls, not as a recruit, but as a living spear. The day of departure, soldiers whispered as he passed, eyes flicking from the boy's cheerful grin to the muscles coiled beneath his tattered uniform. Some prayed he would save them, others prayed he would fall. Mikasa walked beside him, ODM gear strapped tight, scarf fluttering in the wind. She had insisted on being assigned to the same unit. When asked why, she only said, "Because someone has to watch his back." The gates opened, horses thundered out, lines of soldiers spreading across the plain. Above them, the vast sky arched like an unbroken sea. The first Titan appeared before noon, a lumbering 15-meter giant crashing through trees. Recruits screamed orders, gas hissed as hooks fired, but before steel could bite flesh, a black-haired boy blurred forward, feet barely touching earth. Goku's fist slammed into the Titan's jaw. The impact cracked the air like thunder, snapping its neck sideways. As it reeled, he leapt, fist glowing faintly with energy only he seemed to command. One strike to the nape, and the monster collapsed in steaming ruin. Silence followed. Soldiers hung in midair, blades raised, staring down at the boy who stood grinning in the smoke. "See?" he called. "Not so scary." For the first time since Walmaria's fall, some of them laughed, short, disbelieving bursts of relief. But Mikasa did not laugh. She watched him through the haze, heart pounding in a way she could not explain. He was strength incarnate, reckless and radiant, and in a world drowning in fear, she realized, she could not look away. That night, as the expedition camped under trembling stars, the officers argued in hushed voices about how dangerous the boy might be. Yet among the soldiers gathered by the fires, a new story was already being born, of a child who fought titans with his bare hands, who smiled even as the world crumbled. And sitting across the flames, scarf drawn close, Mikasa let herself believe in it, if only for a little while. The camp stirred before dawn, the air cold enough to sting lungs. Horses shifted uneasily, picking up the scent of titans on the wind. Soldiers tightened straps, checked gas canisters, sharpened blades, all ritual before inevitable slaughter. Goku stretched as if waking from an afternoon nap. He bounced lightly on his feet, fists pumping, eyes bright. The men around him stared, a mixture of envy and unease. Where they carried fear like armor, he seemed untouched by it. Mikasa approached with her usual precision. Her scarf was drawn snug, her expression carved from stone. Yet when she stopped near him, the hardness softened a fraction. "Don't get careless," she said. He grinned. "Me? Never." The expedition rolled forward. The forest swallowed them, branches creaking overhead, birds scattering in panicked clouds, scouts fanned out in wings, signals flashing through the trees. The silence was heavy. Every rider knew it would break soon. It broke with a roar. A titan stumbled from between trunks, its mouth gaping wide enough to swallow horse and rider whole. Soldiers veered, gas hissing, blades singing free. But Goku was already gone, a blur among roots and shadows. He struck the titan's gut, folding it over like a broken hinge, then vaulted up its back. His fist glowed faintly, a strange heat crackling through the air, and his blow to the nape left nothing but steaming ruin. The recruits froze midair, staring. He landed lightly in front of them, brushing dust from his hands. "That's one. Who's next?" Some soldiers laughed, the sound shaky but real. Hope, fragile as glass, began to stir, but with every kill, with every effortless leap, that hope twisted into something else. Whispers ran down the lines. No human should do this. No boy should fly without wires. He looked less like salvation, more like the monsters they fought. By midday, they found themselves pinned between a cluster of titans. The formation wavered, soldiers screaming as giants closed in. Erwin barked orders, but chaos splintered the wings. Titans crashed through horses, jaws snapping. One recruit froze, trapped beneath his fallen mount. Goku appeared in an instant, hauling him up with impossible strength, hurling him clear. A titan's hand descended, and Goku met it with his own, muscles straining, holding it back with a roar. The sight burned into Mikasa's mind. A boy bracing against a titan's palm, small body carved with light and will. She fired her cables, blades flashing, severing tendons while Goku drove his fist into the nape. The monster collapsed. When the smoke cleared, Goku turned to her, breathless but smiling. "Nice timing." Her reply was a quiet, "You're reckless." Yet her chest ached with something fiercer than fear. The expedition returned battered, but alive. More alive than anyone expected. The commanders noted the statistics: fewer losses, faster kills, morale unexpectedly higher. They could not deny the effect. That night, beneath torchlight, Nildoc confronted Erwin. "We cannot let this continue. He is not one of us. He frightens the men as much as the titans do." Levi's voice cut in, sharp as a blade. "He frightens them because he makes them realize how weak they are, or because he is a weapon we cannot control." Nile snapped. "What happens when he decides we're the enemy?" Erwin said nothing, but his eyes lingered on the boy laughing among the recruits, sitting cross-legged with Mikasa beside him, sharing stolen bread as though they were only children again. The rumors spread anyway. The more titans Goku felled, the more divided the soldiers became. To some, he was the Titan Slayer, to others the Titan Child. A weapon, a curse, a miracle. Mikasa ignored the whispers. She trained with him when no one else dared, sparring until sweat slicked their skin, her blade striking air as he dodged with laughter. She had never met someone whose strength eclipsed her own, and though it unsettled her, it also anchored her. One evening, after drills, they sat on the wall's edge. The sun bled orange across the horizon, shadows stretching long. Goku dangled his legs over the drop, unbothered by the abyss below. "Why do you fight so hard?" Mikasa asked quietly. He shrugged. "Because it's fun, because it feels right, and because people smile after." "I like that." Her fingers tightened around her scarf. "What if they stop smiling? What if they turn on you?" He turned to her, eyes steady. "Then I'll still fight. For you. For anyone who needs me." For a heartbeat, her chest felt weightless. She turned away before he could see. But not everyone turned away. In the shadows of command, voices whispered of using him, or eliminating him. Humanity could not afford both hope and fear wrapped in the same boy. The choice would come sooner than anyone expected, because far beyond the walls, something stirred. A titan unlike any they had seen before, one armored in plates of bone, another towering with steam rising from its body, were moving with purpose, and when they struck, humanity would need every weapon it had, even if that weapon smiled like a child and fought like a god.